Our next question is, how do we move forward without continuing to wedge the divide between Republicans and Democrats? Do we focus on issues? With the media as it is and propaganda/alt-truth spreading, what realistic strategies do we have to unite as people?
So when I was growing up, my grandmother, she used to say, you got to call a spade a spade. I know that's kind of old school. And I just refuse. Like, I do it in jest, but alternative facts are just lies. And we have to just, like, call them that. All right, we're just racist. These cutesy terms that people come up with for lies and racist are killing me. So that's one thing that we have to do is just call things out the way we see them. Just call them out. I mean, there's no such thing as an alternative fact. Either it's real or it's not. Either you're racist or you're not. And I don't usually, I'm a very nuanced thinker, but like I said, sometimes you guys have to call a spade a spade. So I think that's one of the things that we have to do. I think we have to listen. As we talked earlier about social media and the echo chambers that they create, it puts us in this bubble where we just don't really know what other people are thinking. And that's why many people, there are some people who were totally shocked at the results of the election, but there are many who weren't because they know the people that they work with. They have these conversations beyond social media and everybody who, likes the same things that they like. So I think the biggest thing that we have to do is to communicate, number one, and talk with people who don't think like you. And I know it's really tough to hear. I know it's really tough for me because, kind of my approach to the whole Trump thing is like, you may not be racist if you voted for him, but obviously racism wasn't a deal breaker for you. So, you do have to get beyond that and realize that people are new, they're complex. There's intersectionality you have to think about. Someone might be, it's like if a white woman, she's privileged in her whiteness, but oppressed in being a woman. So I think we can't just paint people with broad brushes. I didn't like the term uneducated white voters. I hated that term because it painted people with a broad brush, and I just think that wasn't right. So even as someone who wasn't politically on the same side as a lot of people people call them uneducated white voters, that just was like nail on a chalkboard for me. Why would you call somebody that, all of a sudden, then you can't figure out why they don't like you or why they don't listen to your media? It's not rocket science. So I think we have to stop with labels and looking at people for who they are, not necessarily like what we think they represent. And I think that's what we have to, what we have to do. But we have to, talk. One thing that we're doing right now where I work is we're creating a platform called Social Studies. We're intentionally bringing people together, and it's a play on words because we're trying to intentionally bring people together who have different political thoughts or different school of thoughts because, people have different motivations for voting the way they do, but we can't paint people with a broad brush. And whether you be, so some of the most intolerant people I know are progressives. And I'm very much a progressive, but there's some people who just, I don't understand how you can call yourself progressive, but you're not open to what other people think. It doesn't mean you have to think the same way, or it's not saying that you think that they're right, but you're not going to understand what people are saying until you actually sit down and listen to people. So someone who is very principled, I do believe that you have to talk with people and, just listen to what they have to say and kind of have to hold your tongue. I know sometimes we are like so judgmental and we want to be quick to tell somebody why they're wrong, but listening is like so underrated.
So in Covington, the race is nonpartisan. We don't run by party, and it's really hard to explain that to people because they always ask you, well, what party are you with? So I've had to make a change in the last couple of years. I'm a Dem at heart, but I registered Republican because Chris mentioned it earlier. In so many of the primaries, the races are being decided in the primary. In Kentucky, most candidates running are Republicans, so the race gets decided in the primary. So the Dems never have a choice, and there are good Republicans and there's bad Republicans. So I changed my registration. And but I'm a Dem at heart, and I'm proud of it. But when it comes to voting, I vote for the person. I think party politics is one of the reasons we're kind of in the position we are in right now. And it's probably, I guess, people voted I guess from what the news is saying, and a lot of people voted for Trump because they were tired of typical party politics, and he was not, he's kind of a renegade. But I think we should be voting for the issues, voting for the person, and I don't know how that happens when so many of the races are being decided in a primary. I talked to my representatives, my state representatives, how can we open up the primaries so you don't have to, you're only allowed to vote in the party that you're registered in. They should be open primaries. So I think that would be a huge change. But again, I think it's again questioning, if you support a democratic value, again, that's pretty wide range. Ask the questions of the candidate, find out what that candidate really stands for, and I think we can get behind that. But party politics, I think, is one of the reasons why we're in the state that we are. When you have Senator McConnell, his main issue is to defeat President Obama, something's wrong.
I agree with everyone, and I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, but also as Democrats, we sometimes need to grow a spine and fight back. Because we're not just kumbaya with each other and how great it is to talk to each other, because the Republicans haven't even been willing to meet with Obama's Supreme Court nominee, much less hold a hearing or a vote. And so when Trump announces in the next 20 minutes who his nominee is, if we just say, oh yes, let's meet with them, let's have a vote, then we get 50 years of an alternative conservative right people in the Supreme Court that's going to decide policy that affects all of our lives. So there is absolutely the core belief that we're stronger by listening to each other and hearing each other, but there's also times that I think are right now where we just have to fight back, where it is not about finding that right balance, but right now I think it's about fighting.